So Scott, what are we going to install today?
Well, we're going to install a tilt steering column in this cowl section. It should give everybody a good idea of what's necessary to install a column into a vehicle.
Let's take a look at the column we're going to put in.
Okay. This is one of our standard tilt columns, and this is an 8-position tilt steering column. It can be mounted into just about any vehicle, but we chose this one to fit this particular application for its length. We offer columns in all different lengths, but this is a 32-inch long column, and that's very common in the 32 Ford.
Now, is this all the tools you need to do this job?
Yeah, basically this is all the tools we're going to need. Obviously the hole was already in the firewall. You may need a Sawzall if you had to cut that hole yourself, or any tools to make the hole that you need to get in through the firewall. Okay. Initially, when we set up a column, we like to tell people to set up with a wood dowel and a pie tin. That allows them to adjust the angle to get a good idea of where they want the column to be in the vehicle.
I see.
In this case, we're already pretty set. We know what it takes, but that is normally the best thing. You need to have the seat in the car, and you need to have the engine in the car so that you can adjust and make sure that you're going to clear the headers, or the column is going to be sitting so the wheel's comfortable for you in the vehicle. Normally you can mock that up with a piece of wood dowel or a PVC pipe, and you'll have a good idea of where you want that column to go. One of the first things he's going to need is a mount to hold the column into the vehicle. And this is a 7.5-inch drop. This will go to the dashboard, or in this case it's a fiberglass bodied vehicle, and it'll go to a structural beam that's up underneath the dash to mount the column to. If this were a steel dash, then we would use a drop that is contoured specifically for that dash. It's cut at an angle so it matches the angle on the column. In this case we have a steel bar underneath, and John is going to install the column to that bar. Now this happens to be a 7-inch drop. If the seats were lowered in the vehicle, you would go with a longer drop. If the seats were raised in the vehicle, then you would need to go with a shorter drop so that that steering wheel isn't coming across your lap. These drops are available for all different types of steering columns. We make them for everybody's column. We prefer that they're using one of our columns, but these will work for any make of column that is out there. And he's basically got the drop supported underneath the dash, and he's going to open that up. It's actually 2 pieces. We do have some customers that have seen that and think, well, how do I get the column in there? And actually our buffer does a fantastic job, and it's very difficult to see that line. But it is actually 2 pieces. Now next, he's going to be using the adjustable floor mount. This is our ball floor mount. There's several different styles available, but this is our ball floor mount. And what it allows is the column can go through the ball. The ball can adjust for any angle that the column may be coming through at. What he's going to have to do is slip this onto the column initially, just so he can get the column through the firewall, and then he'll be sliding it down to the floorboards and actually securing the column with it. So in the beginning here, he's just going to slip it over the column, probably tape it on so we don't scratch everything up, and then install it into the column. All right, here you go, John. We've numbered the inside of the rings to make it more convenient. It explains to the people in the instructions which ring goes in what area on the column. So this makes it much more convenient for the customer as they're putting it together. The tape will hold everything secure while we're installing it in. This is where, if you had a helper, it would be very handy to actually hold the column in place, while the cap is attached at the bottom. When he gets done there with the steering column drop, then he will go down to the floor mount and secure the floor mount to the floor. It's another good place to have a helper, because the ring on the outside of the firewall, if you have to work around a door, it's very difficult to reach both sides at the same time. We provide, because we don't know what the firewall is made out of, we provide these screws that are longer than what the customer will need. In most cases, once they assemble one of these through the floor mount, they'll then realize that the thread is much too long, And then most people will then mark the thread where they need it, cut off the excess so you don't have extra bolts hanging into the engine compartment. In this case, we were lucky enough to already know what it takes, and we pre-cut these. He's going to actually install them with the correct bolts. He's going to save a step that you're going to have to work on in your own vehicle to make it look correct. Here we like to say it's all in the details, and this is something we would always recommend.
Well, Scott, right now we're at a point where it really helps to have a second pair of hands, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and I'm going to assist here. Most of the time there's a lot of people in the industry that will help you out. Everybody's got a friend, and in this case you're going to call one of your buddies and get an assistant, or frankly a spouse or a child. We like to promote children in street routing. It is a family-orientated thing, and this is the perfect place where I would probably call one of my daughters out to help. What John's doing is he's installing the bolts that will hold this ring set together after he gets everything lined up, and then I'm going to put on the nuts to those bolts on this side. Now, everything is loosely installed now. If we had the vehicle, we could be checking the seat height, adjusting the column in or out to make sure that it's sitting where we like it. Checking for the clearances here. I happen to be sitting in the engine bay, but checking for the clearances here on the header or the other drive components. Once we're sure that everything is where we like it, then we can go ahead and tighten down the mounts under the dash and here at the firewall. John, if you'll put your wrench back on these, we'll snug these three up. Now John should be tightening up the set screw down on the bottom of the floor mount, and then re-snugging all the hardware that holds the column in at the dashboard. So now we're going to install the levers. These levers give you your tilt, your turn signal, and your four-way flasher. Go ahead, John. The lever and knob kit comes with every column, and in this case they have some sub-assembly to do. They just have to screw the knob onto the lever, and then you would attach this into the column. The tilt lever and four-way flasher just screw in. They actually thread right into the provided threads, and then the turn signal lever actually has a screw that goes through it.